I remember the exact morning I realized no one was going to take me seriously. There was nothing dramatic about it. No argument, no threatening letter, no raised voices. Just a low mechanical noise that didn't belong where I lived. When I looked out the window, I saw a yellow excavator at the edge of my land, its metal teeth already tearing into the soil as if it had every right to be there. I put on my jacket and walked down the dirt path slowly. I wasn't angry yet, mostly confused. That S how the beginning of something deeply wrong usually feels like a mistake that S about to be corrected. The operator noticed me, raised a hand briefly, and kept working. When I got closer, he finally shut off the engine, sighed, and said, "You can't be here. Active construction site." I told him calmly that this was my property. He looked me up and down, not hostile, just dismissive. Then he smiled and said, "That's what everyone says." That was the moment something shifted inside me. Not fear, not rage, something colder, an understanding. I had already been written out of the story where I was supposed to matter. I called the city's building office. The woman on the phone sounded tired but professional. She told me everything was in order. The land had been sold. The developer had submitted all required documentation. I said I had never sold anything. There was a short pause. And then she said a sentence I would replay in my head for years afterward. "Then you must be mistaken." I hung up, went back inside, and opened my safe. I remember how steady my hands were. Inside were the original purchase contract from the early 90s, the notarized deed. Old land registry extracts, everything clear, undeniable. The land was mine. I sat down at the kitchen table, drank my coffee, and made a decision most people still don't understand. I did nothing. Not because I was weak, not because I was unsure, but because I understood how this system works. In Germany, people believe in paperwork, in stamps, in approvals. And the bigger an officially approved mistake becomes, the harder it is to ignore. So I let them build. I watched surveyors come and go, then trucks, then cranes. I started keeping records, every day dates, times, company logos, license plates. Not out of anger, out of discipline. I knew memory fades, but paper doesn't. In the first year, they laid roads, sewage lines, streetlights. A large sign went up, living by the park, modern, quiet, sustainable. I laughed quietly to myself. Sustainable, on land they didn't own. In the second year, the buildings rose. I received a letter from a property management company informing me that my adjacent land posed a potential safety risk, and that I was required to meet my obligations as a neighboring owner. I read it twice and filed it away. I didn't even realize who they were writing to. In the third year, people moved in, families, children. I watched them play on ground that had once been empty fields, on foundations that should never have existed. And for the first time, I wondered if I was being cruel, if I should have intervened earlier. Then I remembered the man from the building office, his tone. That casual, confident? Then you must be mistaken. And I knew that if I had spoken earlier, they would have buried me. Now, it was too late for that. I went to the land registry office, not angry, not accusing. I simply presented my documents. The clerk frowned, then frowned again, then grew quiet. Finally, almost apologetically, she said, "This entry.
A.
This isn't correct. My signature had been copied. The parcel map altered. It wasn't an elaborate forgery. It was a lazy one, because no one had expected someone like me to object." The owners' meeting took place on a Tuesday evening. I had been invited as a concerned local resident. The developer spoke at length about misunderstandings, communication issues, de-escalation. I listened. Then I stood up and said, "I have the original deed with me." When I placed it on the table, it felt like the air left the room. No one spoke. For the first time, I saw fear on their faces. Not fear of me, fear of reality. The legal process dragged on for months, then years. Files were reviewed, responsibilities shifted, blame diluted. The city claimed it had relied on submitted documents. The building office said ownership wasn't their responsibility. The cadastral office said it only transferred data. Everyone pointed to someone else. The judge listened quietly. Then he asked why no one had verified whether the land had actually been sold. No one had a good answer. The ruling was factual, cold, devastating. The buildings stood on land that wasn't theirs. The permits were invalid. The city shared liability. What followed wasn't an explosion. It was a slow collapse. Banks froze loans. Insurers withdrew coverage. Owners sued. Developer declared bankruptcy. The city called it an isolated incident. I made an offer. Would sell the land at twice the market value. Parcel by parcel. No discounts. They accepted. Not out of understanding. Out of necessity. Sometimes I still drive past the complex. The signs are faded now. The name never changed. Maybe as a reminder. Maybe as a warning. I've thought a lot about whether I should have acted differently. Whether patience is immoral, whether silence makes you complicit. And every time I come back to the same conclusion, I didn't hurt anyone. I simply allowed a system to trip over its own arrogance. Patience isn't weakness, it's preparation. If you enjoyed this story and want more slow burn, real document-driven revenge stories, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and stay with me. The long game works especially when no one expects you to play it.